Hello, welcome to our introduction to Dancing with Your Shadow Selves. This class is a very interesting, unique type of a course where we require honesty, courage, and an open-mindedness to think beyond the paradigms of what you've been told throughout your life. The truth, the knowledge of wisdom throughout the ages has not made a lot of sense to most of us, as it has been dictated to us through schools with many pieces of artifacts and missing pieces of history that don't quite add up to tell our true understanding of our history, of who we are, what we are. Our churches or religions tend to only go so far, and then we ask the still more pressing questions of why. We are asked not to go there, or we're feeling shame or guilt for even wondering about certain questions that we may have. That we have because we are not actually being satisfied with the status quo or the dogma of religion that tells us what the truth is, or from our society. And our society seems to be, governed by somewhat it appears to be hit or miss, or it's not quite guided. That our information up to this point is at best been chaos and not been driven by any one force. And I suggest to you that may not be correct. That there has been a very present force driving the information that is very classified and very secretive in many, many ways. And that information has been held from us as a populace, as a whole on this earth, and only reserved for certain global elites. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is now becoming more and more a fact. The understanding movies like Thrive, the movement, done by Procter & Gamble's son, who is a wonderful pioneer and courageous filmmaker, has pointed this out, as well as many, many other professionals who are doctors, professors, and historians that are tired of being dictated by the universities, who've been also, very censored of what information are released from these universities and what is not, and that the entire sciences of social science, as well as the scientific sciences, political sciences, have been corrupted over the last couple of decades, and since they've changed the original science from alchemy to what we now know as the modern science, which is not very modern at all. The scientific method was created around the Darwinism time, funded by the Queen of England, and it was saying that basically that they did foresee and understand that there were other dimensions of reality, but in the new modern science they would be discredited, and that they would only base their reality on the physical dimension of the third dimensional reality that we are in materialism. The scientific method was then designed to prove if it existed by measurable units, and if it could be measured in the third dimension with their own rules and regulations of what was real and what was not real in the scientific method that was established, then they would tell you if it was real or not real. Anything else then became either you're a mad lunatic or a conspiracist, and you were then shut down systematically and methodically as they went around and shut down a lot of what they called alchemy, the science of the old, the study of wholeness, how all things work together, and forced, like a Gestapo, these institutions out of businesses. Or they burned you as a witch, or called you a sorcerer if you practiced the old ways. So there's been a hostile takeover of our sciences, our universities, and so many other things that have eliminated the truth of who we are. This class breaks the paradigm and the old structures of personality and becoming something that you think you're supposed to be through your reputation, and then becoming your reputation as a character on this planet in a one lifetime, one shot existence. That is not the truth of ancient Buddhism and Hinduism and many other less known sects of thought, is they believe that there are multiple lives that we have in this thing called reincarnation, and that we are infinite players here that play multiple and infinite, many roles here while we're visiting our Earth as in a human body. But we're not just plain human either. We can play many roles as other beings, and many roles besides the ones that we play here on Earth. But going way beyond the comprehension of this course, let us just focus on at least going beyond our one single existence and understanding that we do play multiple roles here on Earth as we have reincarnated several times. The class here called Dancing with Your Shadow Selves is a course that looks deeply at this reality of multiple incarnations, and also a deep understanding that we are, play caretaker personalities here, and that each of our roles that we play in this beautiful matrix theatrical experience we call life are here in themes that we actually get to learn from these roles that we play. The problem is that we become fear-driven, thinking that we only live maybe one lifetime. That identification of one lifetime with one character becomes a solid, very hard, crystallized formation called ego. The ego has an ID or an id, an identification with its existence and thinking it's all that it is. Therefore, knowing that its annihilation or death is going to be happening within, at the most, maybe a few decades from now, at least maybe 100 years you could live to be, or maybe a little longer. Its fear of death overrides the dharma or truth that you should be living your life, which is that you live for multiple incarnations. The dharma or truth is the right way or correct way of seeing life. And if you see life correctly, then you live that life correctly. And that seeing has been skewed by our ego and the horrible roles that it's been robbed of playing. We have learned to play, let's say I play the fool in high school because the class clown doesn't get beat up by the bullies of the day, okay? So if I could get you to laugh at me, you would probably not throw punches at me. And that's what I realized, it was the survival technique of playing the fool. Now, I then took that role and started to play that through college, and then when I graduated, the fear of not being accepted in our society, so I became a prankster and making you laugh, even in corporate America, or other places where I was working, and continually played that role well into my later adult years, which was unacceptable in some arenas that I was at. And instead of the caretaker personality of the fool that was protecting me, it started to actually work against me. And then the frustration of being trapped in this part that I somehow continually generated started to not be such a friend, but it became a foe or a shadow. So learning to identify the shadow and understanding what and how I became that was liberation to be going beyond it and understanding that I am not this character that I played that did help me survive some troubling years in my youth, but that this character is changeable, and not necessarily do I want to completely get rid of it, as the Fool has a lot of good places that you can whip it out and use it. It's always life of the party, right? If you are making people laugh. However, it is not particularly advisable to use that caretaker personality when you are a team leader in a Hewlett-Packard or a corporate environment where you're actually trying to get respect from your peers and you're having a management position there. So we look at this carefully of who we are by understanding first, well, who am I not? And where did I get these things, these personalities or these characteristics that don't serve me any longer, that I get frustrated when I fall back into? So we look at these, as I call, shadows. And the shadows